Now, before we go into the politics, let me touch a little on why the war with Somalia has failed and why Kenyan troops are in the process of withdrawing from Somalia. Oh yes, you've not heard? Now actually the wall has not completely failed, but for the wall to work, the wall has to go alongside the Huduma Number. Now recently, 2 Cuban doctors were kidnapped, and it's believed they were kidnapped by the terror group Al-Shabaab in northern Kenya. Now, the efforts to find the Cuban doctors, and this is very interesting and indeed very instructive, have reached the point where investigators and security forces have consulted with elders, Somali elders. And these Somali elders are the go-between. They're negotiating with the kidnappers. Now, this is information that is in the public domain. It has appeared in various news sources locally. It's public. As shocking as it is. Now, a lot of Kenyans will get confused. But let me just make this very clear. There's no such thing as a Kenyan Somali and a Somali from Somalia. Just like there is no Kenyan Maasai and a Maasai from Tanzania. Without boring you with history lessons, because I've discussed this extensively in the past on this channel, at around the time African countries were getting independence, what was supposed to have happened, what was promised, was one Somali nation, with all Somalis within one country. But the British reneged on that promise, under intense pressure from Kenyans, Kenyan nationalists and freedom fighters, who were negotiating our independence. And so the long and short of what I'm trying to say is that a wall is useless when people have relatives on either side of the wall. But with the Huduma Number, that problem is magically solved. Because if you don't have a number, then you don't belong this side. Period. The kidnapping of these Cuban doctors is very serious business. And the Kenyan government must get those Cuban doctors back alive. It's very important. There's something else you need to know, which many people don't know. The Al-Shabaab terror group is always desperate for medical expertise and even medicine. We've had very many raids on the Kenyan side where the terrorists have stolen medical supplies. And so based on this, one of my theories is that even as negotiations go on, the Cuban doctors are very busy in Somalia. Now, in my humble view, this Huduma Number thing will not solve this security problem. It won't. Because when you want to solve a problem like this one we're talking about, then you go back to the root cause. You don't try to introduce technology. You don't try to introduce a magic pill to solve the problem. I don't think it'll ever work. History has shown us magical pills, in quotes, hardly ever work. Now on to the politics. Now I believe the government is making a very serious mistake. And that mistake is to take the handshake for granted. To misuse the handshake. And many people have said this. I'm not the first one to say it. It seems that the thinking now is that we can do anything and get away with it. Because Raila is on our side. Nobody else can oppose us. Therefore we can do anything we want to do and we'll get away with it. Now this is the reason why I think this is a big mistake. And Raila sycophants will not like this. But let me just say it in plain English. I think the government is overestimating Raila's power with the masses. Let me illustrate that by going back to the year 2007. Very many people are shocked at the way Raila Odinga was able to quickly get support, a mass support, right across the country. Most did not realize precisely what was happening. People were not supporting Raila. People were voting against Mwai Kibaki. And there's a difference. But politicians know this, and they've taken full advantage of this, on both sides of the political divide. And that is why, in 2017, Jubilee created a monster called Raila, who the House of Mumbi had to defend themselves against at all costs. And so, ultimately, Jubilee supporters were not voting for Uhuru. They were voting against Raila. And that is why, in the repeat election, when Raila withdrew from the presidential race, Jubilee didn't know what to do. They had no other strategy. They had no plan B, in rallying their supporters behind them, to go to the polls, to go to the booths and vote. And so in the same way, if you understand that clearly, if Raila and Uhuru are on the same side, then Raila is no longer as strong as he was when he was opposing Uhuru. In other words, he does not have the number of supporters he had at the time when he was in the opposition, when he was checking the government and checking government excesses. Right now, people see Raila as the government. And that is why if the handshake is not careful, they are going to create with their own hands a very powerful opposition against them, from the people of Kenya. And this Huduma Number and the Kifua strategy, forceful draconian strategy the government is taking, could be one of those things that could build up opposition against the government very quickly. In the last few days, I've been sending out feelers to learn how Kenyans are reacting to Raila Odinga supporting the Huduma Number and telling people to take it without thinking. And the feedback I got is that Kenyans are mostly annoyed and appalled that Raila should ask them to do something without thinking. The feeling amongst many Kenyans is that this thing is going to benefit Raila and Uhuru directly, and the people of Kenya less. Now, I'm not saying that is a fact. All I'm saying, as I always say on this channel, perception, the people's perception is very important. And quite often, it makes the facts irrelevant. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.